everybody, welcome back to Kids-Funland. Today I'm going to read Moosetache. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Let's start. Moosetache, written by Margie Palatini, illustrated by Henry Cole, published by Scholastic Books. Moosetache. Moose had a problem, a horrible, hairy, prickly problem. It grew right below his nostrils and just above his upper lip, a moustache. Now, not a few spare hairs or shy little stubble, no mere weak wandering whiskers on the upper lip of this moose. No, sirree, Moose had a big, bushy, bristly, mighty moustache, but a moustache that was a burly, surly, mangy mess, and it itched a lot. Sure, he plucked and he tweezed. He even clipped, snipped, and teased. But his combs were still cowards, and his brush were still rebelled. His scissors simply surrendered. Moose was in a frizzy tizzy. The moustache was completely crimming his style. He was a great hoofer, but he could barely bop and hip-hop with a moustache going flip-flop. He was a wonderful chef, but he simply could not flame his souffle with all of those whiskers in his way, and he was daring skier, but how could he downhill ski with the mighty moustache blowing in his face? Moose had to do something, and soon. But what? After days and days of much serious thought, Moose got an idea. He crossed some hair here, he crossed some hair there, and he tied his moustache around his neck. A moose scarf seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. But then his moustache got knotted and mangled and horribly tangled, and those hundreds of hairs still pricked and tickled. Worse, Moose could barely breathe with all that moustache wrapped around his neck. So Moose untied, unwrapped, unknotted, and he gulped in some fresh air. He got another idea. He parted some hair this way, he parted some hair that way, and he heaped all the moustache on top of his head. Moustachio antlers seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect, until a squandrel of squirrels and one very noisy gopher moved into the Moose Motel. They huddled and hoared and furrowed and bored. Needless to say, it became quite crowded up there on Moose's head, and heavy and messy. And very, very noisy. The squirrels chitting and chatting, squealing and squawking woke Moose every morning before the crack of dawn. And that gopher was giving the moose one hairy headache. Moose needed his sleep. He needed his rest. He needed his privacy. Moustachio antlers nuts, said Moose. So he unparted and tiled and twisted, untwined, and said adios to the hairy horns. But now what? What? The miserable moose took hold of a hunk of hair, and he wrestled it, then roped it. He tethered and tied, tamed. Aha! A moose tail. Now that was so simple, that was so easy, that was not so perfectly perfect. Talk about a dizzy do. Moose didn't know if he was coming or going, backwards, forward, this way, that. He didn't know which end was which. Moose had a bail on his tail. Then, call it fate, call it destiny, it was probably dumb luck. But one day Moose tripped over his moustache and just had no time to duck. "Oomph, pardon me, they both said as they bumped. Then they blinked and they stared, and their hearts went thump-a-thump. She was a moose, but found so bawdy, so outrageous. Well, it was just plain old big, hair after hair, piled higher than high, a skyscraper do of glorious curls, a tower of swirling twists and twirls. She was simply splendid, stupendous, absolutely superb. Of course, Moose has to ask how she did what she did to get such a do. Miss Moose winked and then whispered just a little glue. So she helped. He fearlessly plunged a hoof into a fat pot of white goopy glue, and carefully, oh so carefully, they glopped and they plopped, they pasted and they pressed, they coaxed and they curled every truly unruly wayward whisker. Around and around they tweaked and twirled those horrible hairs until Moose's once mangy mess was now a wondrous winding wave of marvelous moustache. Moose gazed in the mirror and smiled a broad, moosey smile. He was so happy, so glad, just giddy with glee. He looked dashing and handsome. Moose gushed, "Is this really me?" With not a care for one hair, the moose bared and boogled and bopped. He skied downhill, even uphill, and their cooking was hot, hot, hot. So, of course, it wasn't long after the moose and his moustache and his beautiful bride fox trotted and tangled and waltzed down the aisle. Good hair days, bad hair days, they vowed to love and to cherish, and with hearts heaped with love and pots filled with goop, they both sighed, "I do glue and promise never to part." It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. And it stuck. That is the end of this video, everybody. See you next time on Kids-Funland, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Bye!